Hey everyone! Starting a little later than I would have liked, but hey, it works, and we're live now. And we've already got some numbers. It's 9:12, and I apologize for any lag, but we're already seeing some numbers in the we're watching a lot of races tonight. Let's keep that in mind. We're watching the Nixon race between Cuomo. We're watching Hochul's race against Mr. Williams, Jermaine Williams, and we're watching the Attorney General one. Then the state legislative ones we're watching, namely some state Senate primaries. We're already getting numbers in some of those, so we've got a lot of stuff to watch tonight. And it's going to be a long night. Freaking trying to get something up real quick. I apologize for not having the board up tonight. We weren't able to get it working tonight, unfortunately. Alright, this. So here's all the Senate ones to watch. There's Salazar listed on here. No, they don't. I don't know which one hers is. Let's see if we can find that. Yeah, she's currently ahead in District 18, 15% in. There's a lot of these we're watching. Start with the statewide stuff, though. It's looking as expected so far. Cuomo doing a lot better than Nixon across the state. And, as expected, she's doing better upstate. Yeah, it's looking good for Cuomo right now, which is kind of what we expected going in. The Lieutenant Governor's race is looking like it's going to be a lot closer. So we go down to New York City, you can see Brooklyn's going heavy this moment for Jermaine Williams. And these other counties are going pretty good for Hochul at the moment. Meanwhile, Teachout is in second in the AG race. This one's looking tight too. And yeah, these are all of the districts we're watching now. District 17 is the most important. And keep in mind, all of these are important. These state legislative ones. But 17 is the most important. Because this is someone who's actually caucusing with the Republican Party. A very, very small number at this point. You can see a 2% lead for incumbent Simcha Felder in District 17 with 18% in. Salazar currently ahead of Martin Dillon in that race. That one's gotten a lot of attention. 15% is in. In terms of the other ones we're watching, District 11. And these are, of course, all the former IDC members. Challenger is currently ahead by 6 points with 25% in. I think 13 is another. Yes. Here, the incumbent is ahead by 4 with 16% in. We already went over Felcher. It looks like 20 is another one. Incumbent's up pretty significantly with 13% in. 23. It's a pretty big lead with 43% in. the 31st, the 34th, and the 38th. All those. Currently a big lead for the challenger with only 19% in. The significant lead for the incumbent here. So it looks like a mixed bag overall for the challengers and the incumbents. And we have nothing in from the 53rd. Now 14% in statewide. Cuomo maintaining. I mean, in technicality, yes, though it's looking very difficult for that to happen. For one, she needs to start performing better in upstate, because that's an area she should do better in. And then she has to at least close the gap in New York. It's looking pretty bad at the moment. She can still win, but it's not looking good for her. Now, Jumaine Williams is... It's looking like he has a very good chance. Because that race is actually very close. You can see Brooklyn is going heavily for him. Manhattan is going heavily for him. And upstate looks close at the moment. In terms of the positions, Jumaine Williams looks like he's in a good spot. Nixon looks like she's in a really bad spot, and Teachout is in an okay spot, but she also has some ground to make up against leading candidate Latita James with 14% in. Alright. I think another really interesting thing that's not getting as much attention is the state legislative ones. As you can see, the challengers are now winning, except for this one. Salazar is currently up. That's good for the progressives. Julia Salazar is up 34% in.
You bring
Apologize for the interruption there. Getting it back to the numbers. Wonder if we can get anything more in depth with these state legislative ones besides just how much is in. Because that'd be good to know. How terrible is the New York Secretary of State website? Election out results. And man, it looks terrible. Oh Lord. And it's not going to state Senate. Okay. Well, scratch that. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have to rely on New York Times to give us the up-to-date numbers. 20% in, still looking bad for Nixon. Yeah, you can see the areas around New York are going heavily for Cuomo right now. Jumaine Williams is currently ahead of the incumbent lieutenant governor, which is good news for progressives. And that's another interesting thing. Bernie stayed out of this race. Bernie endorsed, and the other two, Bernie endorsed Jumaine, and Bernie endorsed Teachout. Jumaine's in a good spot, Teachout not so much. But Teachout's certainly doing better than Nixon is. In terms of the state legislative races, it's a mixed bag. Salazar is currently up, and this challenger's up, this challenger's up, this challenger's behind, this challenger is up, the challenger is far behind here, challenger is far up here, and going all the way down to the 53rd, still no votes in yet. It looks like that lead's expanding here. And it looks tight all around the state. Delaware looks very, very close at this point. Now this kind of looks like it's going to go in heavy for Hochul, as is this one. Staten Island is pretty much in. Queens is half in, looks sort of like. As is Bronx. But Brooklyn is also half in, and that's where Jumaane Williams' base seems to be. Now the question is, when the rest of the state comes in, can Williams hold that number? We don't know yet, because we don't know what the rest of the state's going to look like. If so, Mate Williams has a very good chance here. Meanwhile, Teach Out, I mean, it's 50 to 29 current. Not the best position, but she has a chance. She's doing very well in Delaware, and she's doing very well in Warren, upstate. And she should get numbers out of the upstate areas, is what it's looking like. Looks like James is doing very well in the city part of the state. There needs to be a very good margin up here in order for her to carry it. It's possible, but tough. Real quick, I want to see what the Twitterverse is saying at this point. Looking very, very tough at this point. Yeah, Salazar looks like she's in a very good position. Can I get some NY hashtag going on? NY primary, there we go. Looks like this one's gonna survive. The other incumbents, on the other hand, look in very, very dire situations. With very few exceptions. Now we're at 24% in. That's the thing. It looks like it could be close upstate, but she isn't winning it. I'm gonna call it now. Yeah, that ain't a surprise, sadly. This, on the other hand, though, looks interesting. Here we got a lot of counties not in yet. But yeah, let's just go through the IDC members real quick. See, I don't know how to do an enter. See, I hate when stuff like that happens. Yeah, we're going to just go through all of the IDC numbers real quick. Spaces count as characters? You're kidding me. Well, this is unfortunate. Yeah, unfortunately I can't seem to do that. But, quick rundown. Cuomo has won. Jamae Williams is currently ahead. Kathy Hochul. Now, Letitia James is currently ahead by around 30 points against Zephyr Teachout and Sean Patrick Maloney. And the IDC members, it seems like more of them are losing than winning. Tony Avella is losing currently with 80% in. Jose Peralta is losing with 69% in. Felder is not losing. It's one, though. Hamilton is losing. Savino is winning. Marisol Alcantara is losing. Klein is winning narrowly with 64% in. Andrea Stewart Cousins is behind by a lot with only 5% in. Less than 1% in District 38. David's, I don't know how to say that, but the incumbent's behind. And all the way down to 53, we don't have anything in yet. So that's where everything stands at this point. I wish things would stop popping up. But yeah, it's currently 53 to 47 in favor of Williams in the Lieutenant Governor primary. This is the Bernie endorsed candidate who is currently in the lead. And this is interesting. We're getting a lot of Brooklyn, and we're getting a lot of the city. And Williams is doing pretty decently in most of the city. Mainly Brooklyn. But we're starting to get up there in Brooklyn numbers. He's losing essentially everyone else except for Manhattan. And we have a bunch of counties on it, so this is still very, very contested and certainly too close to call. Same thing here, only it's the other way around. The Bernie endorsed candidate is behind Letitia James by around a little more than 30 points. You can see the counties are going a bunch of different ways. And the reason I think it's still in play, of course, is she seems to be doing decently in upstate. And the places where Maloney is winning, Teachout is usually in second place. And while that can help Teachout, of course. So the blue and the purple are, good signs. Green, not so much. This one looks close. And of course, New York City is coming in very, very heavily for James. So that's where this one stands. So this one I'd still classify as too close. And the state legislative races were looking good for socialists and progressives. Salazar looks like she's heading and coasting to victory. That's a race that's gotten a lot of attention. Salazar currently up by a lot. And most of the challengers to the IDC members are ahead. There's a few exceptions. There's Felder, who's surviving, it looks like. Savino, who's surviving. And Klein, narrowly surviving. And Andrea Stewart Cousins, narrowly surviving. Well, not narrowly, but just not much in. So there's a couple of IDC members that aren't in bad spots, but most of them, it looks like, are going down tonight. So it's a mixed message, to say the least, for progressives. On the one hand, they lost the gubernatorial primary handedly. But it looks like it's going to be very close in the lieutenant governor primary. They're behind, but it's still in play in the attorney general primary. And in the state legislature, it's looking very good as they're ahead of numerous IDC members who caucus with Republicans. And Salazar is doing very, very well, despite everything that went against her this whole time. Salazar is doing very well. Myrie is doing very well. Jackson is doing very well. So yeah, it's a mixed night, as all seem to be. It's a very, very mixed night. Centrists have very good news in terms of their gubernatorial win. And they seem to be favored, at least in the Attorney General's race. The progressives are in good spots in the Lieutenant Governor's race and most of the state legislative races. Like I said, a mixed bag. And there's a lot happening on Twitter, of course. And of course, the reactions on Twitter are mixed. Is this what this? Okay. So yeah, you're seeing a bunch of stuff. And everyone's focusing on that. Though I do think there's a lot more that people should be focusing on. They should be focusing on Lieutenant Governor. They should be focusing on Attorney General. Those look a lot more interesting in my eyes. Any more numbers? It's like 32% is in. We're getting more counties now. So, a little less than 40,000 vote lead. Lawrence is going to be close. Are there any other close upstate counties to watch? Doesn't look like it. Well, there is Delaware. And of course, there's Brooklyn. We still got some votes to go there. We're getting Manhattan, too. You can barely even see it's on here. Yeah, that's where most of that lead is coming from. Yeah, that's the question I have. Is what is the rest of the state going to come in? Like, Buffalo, New York coming in for Hochul big looks good, because we don't have much in there yet. At the same time, Buffalo's looks decent for Teach-Out at this point. Jefferson looks like it'll be close. Lewis County looks good for Teach-Out. Lawrence and Warren both look good for Teach-Out. So, yeah, both of these races could flip. Williams could still lose handily, might I add, depending on how upstate votes. And James could still lose depending on how upstate votes. Because James is doing very well in most of the city area. Besides Manhattan, of course. Manhattan's looking good for Teach-Out. But upstate so far is looking very good for Maloney and Teach-Out. And considering how far behind Maloney is, anything that looks good for Maloney probably looks good for Teach-Out, because Teach-Out's almost always in second place in these counties. Like second place, second place, second place. It's hard to find a Maloney county that has Letitia James in second place. See? So it looks, it's hard to find an upstate county that looks really good for Letitia James. So once upstate comes in, it could actually shift the whole race in favor of Teach-Out, just as it could shift the whole race in favor of Hochul here. So, long rant, but I do think I'm right. It seems that most... I don't live in New York, so... And my state doesn't have a gubernatorial race this year either, so... If there's anyone in the chat who lives in New York, you have a message. From Spider-Man himself. Yeah. Everyone on Twitter is talking about this gubernatorial race. At this point, especially since it's called now, I think we should start shifting our attention to the races that are uncalled, especially this one. And this one, both of which look interesting. Heck, I think the lead shrunk. Now it's more around a 20-point difference. Indiana, I'm in Indiana. Yeah. Those two are the big statewide ones to watch still. And then all the state legislative ones where IDC members look like they're mostly going down in defeat. And Salazar has officially been declared the winner. That was a big race as well. Trying to see if I can see anyone talking about Salazar. Doesn't seem like it. Meh. Better than Pence, but still, he's mixed. He's very mixed. Like he's a moderate, but still, like, particularly on redistricting reform and marijuana and stuff like that, he's bleh. Hope we can vote him out, but he's very popular according to polling, so doubt we can get him out unless Republicans decide to primary him in 2020. Apologize about muting the mic there. Bit of an audio disturbance, but it's fine now. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to still watch, and Syracuse is now coming in, and it's looking good for Hochul. Rochester, good for Hochul. Erie, good for Hochul. Looks like pretty much the entirety of upstate, besides like a couple counties, is coming in heavy for Hochul. Which is why I still think this race is up in the air. And it's also the same reason I think this one's still up in the air. So yeah, this county, Maloney's in first place, so that's going to get him closer to the top. But it's namely going to help Teach out. Because it'll close, like both of them will close in because of upstate. It's looking like a lot of incumbents are going down the state legislature. And this one flipped. Last time I looked at it, Klein was narrowly ahead. Now he's narrowly behind his challenger. We still have barely anything in this one. This is a big lead. Now an incumbent there. The 53rd. Finally have some numbers there. The challenger looks to be ahead. And the incumbent's ahead in the 63rd. I don't think that's an IDC member we're watching. Closed a bit here. It's 52-48 in favor of Williams at this point. Here, it's looking more like a mixed bag. Teachout's winning some counties. Second and many more. So I think both of these are still up in the air. The question is, how big does Upstate come in favor of Hochul? And does it give her enough votes to take the lead? And the same questions here. How much of it comes in, and does it make a big enough difference for either of these two to take the lead? State legislator-wise, it's looking bad for IDC members. Very bad. Because let's just, for example, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that are facing challengers tonight. That's 1, that's 2. I'm just counting the ones who are behind. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. That's 6. And that's 7. 7 of the 9 challengers are currently ahead of the incumbents. That's a lot. Progressives doing well state legislature-wise. Mixed jobs, mixed statewide. Williams is currently ahead. He's the progressive in this race. But there is a very good chance that does not last long because Upstate's coming in heavy for Hochul. And most of the vote that's out is in Upstate. Same sort of thing, but opposite here in the Attorney General race. Upstate is mostly what's out, but in this one it's favoring Maloney, and Teachout is going against James. So, and it was a 20-point lead last time we referred to this. Now, and it just changed slightly. It went from a 20-point lead to an 18-point lead. Slowly narrowing. And Maloney's increasing his share too. He was at 10% earlier. Now he's 10% behind second place candidate, Teachout. So both of those are still up in the air. There's Salazar's victory tweet. Tonight's victory is not about me. Tonight's victory is about New Yorkers coming together and choosing to fight against rising rents and homelessness in our communities. Together we will build a better New York. NY for the many. And of course, you see progressives congratulating in the comments or replies, whichever you prefer to call them. And of course, that's just one. So yeah, there's a lot going on in New York at the moment. Unfortunately, we now begin the most painful thing of the waiting game. But it does look like you can see this is getting closer and closer as we get more votes. What was a 4-point lead is now a 2-point lead. Well, that is some good news. Looks like this is going to be close. Anywhere upstate that's close is good news for Williams at this point. Because Hochul is sweeping upstate. For the most part, anyway. And how much left do we have of the areas Williams is winning? So we have those smaller ones. What happened there? But yeah, we're at 79% in Brooklyn, and we're at 77%. So it's 20% in both those counties that will come in for Williams. But we still got a lot more to go from literally the blank counties. Every blank county is more likely to be a Hochul County than a Williams County. It's a bit the opposite here. It was an 18-point lead last time we checked. Now it's 17 points and dropping. Yeah. Question is there enough votes to change the numbers in both of those races? It's very possible still that Williams and Teachout lose. It's very possible both of them win. And it's very possible that only one of them wins. Like I said, it looks like state legislative very, very good for progressives. Like, undeniably so. Of the 9 former IDC members, only 2 are ahead. And Salazar won her race. It is interesting to see the Cuomo race, though, and which counties are going for Nixon. This county, funnily enough, upstate. The biggest criticism of her campaign was that she didn't focus enough on upstate, focused too much on New York City. It appears that criticism didn't have much root, because she's doing much better upstate than she is doing in the city. She's getting crushed in the city. She's the only county she's winning are upstate counties, which is interesting. You know, this one continues to narrow and narrow and narrow. So yeah, there are only 4 counties going for Williams at this point. There's Brooklyn, which we're running out of votes there. Manhattan, we're running out of votes there. He is ahead here, but very narrowly. And same thing here, very narrow lead. Everywhere else, big lead for Hochul, big lead for Hochul. Close, but lead for Hochul. Close. Big lead for Hochul. Big lead, big lead, big lead, big lead, big lead. Hence why it is subject to change. And it got even closer. 0.8% separating them with almost half in. If there is any good news for Williams, it's the fact that we aren't getting any more numbers in from these two cannons, where he is without doubt performing his best. There's 20% to go in both of those, and if he does fall behind, as we start getting more upstate votes, those could push him back up. But once again, it all depends on what kind of margin the upstate gives Hochul. Because it could be it's very possible that upstate doesn't give Hochul enough to win. I think it's very possible the other thing happens. So, and this one continues to trend in sort of more in that direction. 30% to 47%. It's narrowing continually. You can see Maloney. And all these counties with Maloney ahead have Teachout pretty much in second in all of them. Meanwhile, the city area is coming in for James. Some of it close, some of it not so close. Though the same problem could face James. You can see now, slowly narrowing. Once again, and got no narrower here. You know, the big question is, what does upstate do in both of these races? Is there enough votes in upstate to give Hochul a lead, keep the lead to win? And is there enough to take the lead from James and give it to Teachout or Maloney? More likely Teachout than Maloney, though. That's the question. It's certainly more likely that Hochul catches up than Teachout catches up, just because of the margins. Like, it's 0.6 here, and it's around 17 here. That has to be made up. So both still tough races for the progressives. And just for a reminder to those who haven't paid as much attention, Teachout is the Bernie endorsed progressive in this race. Williams is the Bernie endorsed progressive in this race. Both in less than ideal situations. Good news though is that this went from 17 to 16 with 49% in. I said though I don't know if the margins are changing at a fast enough rate to where she can narrowly pull this out. Yeah. It's interesting. We have 4 people watching it. No one wants to chat except Spider-Man. Yeah, it's fine though. I need to talk. We're 9% in. And officially went to 16% lead for James over Teach Out. Raw vote wise, a bit over 100,000. You can see Upstate is looking good for Teach Out. Purple is Teach Out, blue is Maloney, and essentially anything that's blue is going to help Teach Out because Teach Out is in second in most of these counties. So you have Teach Out first or Teach Out second Upstate, and then you have the city, which is more in than Upstate. Hence why the margin keeps shrinking. Now, and weirdly enough, this one's staying relatively the same, though that might be because some came in Manhattan. Yeah, we should stop. Stupid notifications in the middle of the stream. Are any of these still up in the air? I mean, technically, but they might as well not be. 52 to 49. Okie dokie then. Something feels a bit off about that. I guess it's a rounding thing. 56-44. 61-39. Don't know why that isn't called yet. 56-44. 58-42. 67-21. Don't know why that one isn't called either. 57-38. Don't know why that one isn't called either. 54 to 47. Yeah. It's a bad night for the IDC. And this guy's saying what I'm saying. Given Hochul is strongest outside the 5 boroughs, I suspect she'll win renomination in an NY Dem LG primary, given what's left to count. But we'll see. Mr. Veery is going to deliver her a massive amount of votes. Yeah, Maloney's in a bad position. By the way, I'm sure a lot of those challengers are endorsed by our revolution. So it's undoubtedly a decent night for them, state legislative wise. Cuomo, they basically got the IDC Dems to form in order to give them cover, then disbanded them when a political wind shifted, and they all get their asses kicked in this case to a third term. Free advice to Democrats who want to hold their seats in 2018. Don't form a power-sharing agreement with the Republican Party. Bye-bye, IDC. now we're just waiting for numbers. And by the way, I think people agree with me, at least AP does. Because they haven't called either of these two. Alright, now it seems that Manhattan is keeping it even. But that can only go on for so long. Like I said, we still have 49% of the state to go. And we're creeping up to 90% in Manhattan. 20% left to go in Brooklyn. And while these could give a small vote hold, not enough for women. Jeez. Speaking of the devil, it is now a 0.2% lead for Williams. 53% in. That is a slightly over 1,000 vote lead. Meanwhile, this creeped down by 0.3%. Can I get anything on the teach-out race? Because I want something on the Attorney General. I'm gonna go to the latest. I'm gonna just answer this guy, because I feel like it. If I could spell it right, that'd be helpful. This is decent. that's unfortunate for Teach Out. But still does help her more. Yeah. So that's what it's like now. You can see it got even closer. It's now a 15-point lead. 56% in. And here, lead is shifted. Will it stay that way? That's a good question. It's now essentially a 1-point lead for Hochul. Just look county-wise, and you can see some more votes came in those Williams areas. It's looking Hochul's direction. As of now, still close in this one. That's interesting. 45% for the leading candidate. That's not a position you want to be in. Less than a 15-point lead now. Now the question is, so James still does have votes here. 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 But not many. Meanwhile, still a lot of counties that don't have anything in yet up here. Still a lot of Buffalo. Still a lot of... Well, actually, a good bit of Rochester is in. Albany's still got a lot to go, and it's going for Teach Out currently. Of course, the Lieutenant Governor's race is looking ever more favorable for Hochul. So here's all our revolution candidates. Of course, we know the statewide ones, but Ramos is doing pretty well, I think. Ramos is doing well. We of course know Salazar is 1. Morris in District 17. How's he doing? Badly. I'm surprised that isn't called yet. Salazar. Zelnor in District 20 is doing very well. District 34 doing relatively well. It's close, but in the lead. District 23 did not so well. In District 53, numbers have been slow here. She's down, but we only have 15% in. And it seems like we're getting very up there in terms of the statewide vote. Went down another point here. Yeah, Hochul up 51-49 essentially. So it looks like she's going to pull this one out. Because, yeah, we only got 10% essentially to go in both Brooklyn and Manhattan. And even then, I think the lead has gotten too big for that to be a shift. Columbia could help a bit. This might help a bit, but unlikely. Yeah. See, most of the vote is upstate. Tonight sent a very mixed message for progressives. Landslide for moderates in the gubernatorial race. Very tight win for moderates, it looks like, in the lieutenant governor race. Still up in the air in attorney general race, but it looks like the moderates are going to win this one too. But everything state legislative wise has gone for progressives. There's always 2022. And now it's expanding at this point. lead just shrunk one more point. It's a 13-point lead now. We're 64% in. Well, there you have it. I'm still calling this one too close to call, though I disagree. Alright, I think we're gonna end the stream because it's late, I'm tired, and, you know, I have other stuff I want to do too. So, I'm gonna just end the night by saying this is my last word. Thank you for watching, and see you probably soon.